looking for a new job in the new year, or heck, any time of the year, then you're going to want to hear these 7 mistakes that you should be avoiding in your job search. Hi, I'm Laura, and I'm here to take your job search from stressful to successful. Now, mistake number 1 is being open to anything. Now, you may think you are being flexible and that you're making it easier for both yourself to find a job and for employers to hire you. Trust me, you are not. In fact, you may be sabotaging your job search because you are not clear. Now, imagine this. You and a friend are trying to decide where to go for dinner. Your friend asks you, "So, what are you feeling like?" And you're like, I'm open. But in reality, you're not open. Let's say you are not really feeling Chinese food that night, but you didn't say that. So they say, "Well, why don't we try this Chinese buffet?" And you're like, yeah, I'm not really feeling Chinese, but anything else will go. And then they're like, "Okay, what about sushi?" I just had sushi last night. So how about something else? And pretty soon you are getting annoyed. They are getting annoyed. And if you were just honest about what it is that you were looking for from the get-go, you would avoid this whole elongated back and forth. Now think about the same thing in your job search. If you are not clear on what it is that you want, how can you find what it is you want? You're just hoping that you stumble into something or that something magically appears where you're like, "Yes, that's perfect. That's what I'm looking for." We know that really doesn't happen in life that often. So why in the heck would that happen with your job search? And think about this from the perspective of you networking with other people, because people genuinely want to help you, but they need to know what it is you need help with. If they ask, "Okay, so you're looking for a job, what are you looking for?" And you're like, "Well, anything," then you are putting the onus on them to figure it out for you. And that's probably not something they're willing to take on. Now, if you are very specific and you say, "You know what, I am looking to move into a customer service role for a startup company where I can use my skills in developing new processes," that is like, okay, we have a clear idea of how to help you. And that's why it's so important for you to be honest with yourself up front about what it is you are looking for, because it will make the process so much smoother. And mistake number 2 is using AI in your job search. Now, I know I have videos out there about doing specifically that, using AI in your job search. And here is where I want to clarify. I do think it is beneficial to use AI in your job search, but only if you do it strategically and correctly. Now, I'm going to give you some examples of how not to use it. I was recruiting for a position. This was, I guess, a year ago at this point. And I had asked for candidates to submit a cover letter along with their resume. Well, I received 3 cover letters that were essentially the exact same. Yes, there were some differences in the fact of a position they used to hold, the years of experience, things like that, but everything else was very, very similar. And all of the letters sounded just off, like off slightly. Like I wouldn't talk like this to somebody. And I was like, I wonder what's going on here. Well, it didn't take long for me to figure out. It was obviously AI. So I went ahead and I just put in the job description that I was recruiting for. And I said, based on this job description, create a cover letter. And lo and behold, the exact same one came out. That is where you were using AI incorrectly. You're just doing what everybody else is doing. Or this is a good one too, that it's not, when I say good, I don't mean it's actually good. I mean, it's like a good example of how not to do it. And I heard this on a podcast by a job search coach. And that's what got me. I was like, oh no, there are job search coaches out there offering this advice and this is completely wrong. She said to tailor your resume, simply upload your resume and upload the job description and say, "Please tailor my resume to this job description." Oh, No, that's what everybody else is doing as well. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't use AI because there are ways to break down a job description so you can truly see what the components are that they're looking for, and you can look at your own resume to draw out quantifiable data, help you brainstorm ways that you can show yourself in your unique value if you are stuck on that. And I do have a video linked up here if you are interested. And when you use AI to do this, you need to be very intentional. You need to use it as a resource, not as the sole way that you are creating resumes, cover letters, emails, all of that. You're using it as a helpful tool. I could go on and on about using AI in your job search, and I probably will do another video on that, but let's just leave it there for now. Be strategic, not generic when you use AI. And mistake number 3 is relying on job boards. Now, it is estimated that 50 to 80% of positions are filled through networking, yet so many job seekers rely solely on job boards. And I can tell you that this is just going to lead to more frustration. This is where you hear those stories of, I've applied to over 500 jobs and nobody's getting back to me. And I always am like, how are you applying to those jobs? Because if you were just hitting that easy apply button that you see that everybody else has hit, that's just going into an ATS system or applicant tracking system, along with hundreds, if not thousands of other resumes. And you need to stand out from those resumes. And the way to do that is to form true connections with people. And this is where you need to double down on networking, because with AI being on the scene in the way that it is and the way that it continues to grow, more and more people are going to be able to easy apply. But not as many people are going to be putting their efforts forth to making those true connections. And that's where you need to focus your efforts. And I do have a 5-day job search jumpstart series, which will get you off on the right foot. If you are interested, I'll link it below. And mistake number 4 is crafting a resume that focuses on what you did rather than on the impact that you had. And here is a key tip. If your resume reads as a job description, then that resume is not an accurate reflection of you. Think about a job description. That is meant to be high level and generic, right? You read the job description, you get a good sense of what is required from that role. But you, when you are crafting your resume, you want to show why you specifically are the best fit for the needs of the company. And that means you have to show your unique impact, your unique value. If you're a receptionist, you could simply put on your resume, answered phones. And that's what you would find on a job description. But everybody and anybody who's applying for a receptionist position can say that they answered phones. Now, if you went and showed your specific impact through an impactful bullet point, that is where you can stand out. Saying something such as handled 80 plus calls daily, reducing the average wait time from 4 to 2 minutes by creating a concise FAQ script, that shows how you specifically handled calls. It shows the volume, it shows the impact because you reduced wait time, and it shows how you did that. So don't just leave your resume at what you did, but show the impact that you had. And mistake number 5 is being reactive rather than proactive. Now, let me know if this sounds familiar. You see a job posting, you apply, and then you wait. You might wait for days, for weeks, for months. Heck, you might never hear back. But once you hit apply, you feel as though you've done your part. And if they don't reach out to you, then the door has been closed. Well, that's being reactive. You reacted to a job posting and then left it at that. Being proactive is taking control of all of the areas that you can. And a great example of this is not even waiting until a job posting pops up. Rather, being proactive so you are thought of when that need comes within the company. So if you've already started forming relationships with people who work at the company, hiring managers, recruiters, all of that, you are going to be top of mind, and they might not even have to post the position because they've already have you as a possible candidate, which goes back to the relying on the job boards, that 50 to 80% of jobs are not even filled through that avenue. Rather, they're filled through networking. Well, those people who are networking, they are being proactive. And trust me when I tell you that being proactive is the best way to actually make progress through all parts of your job search, because you're not just waiting for something, you are taking the reins. Another example is in interviews. I know so many job seekers who, when the interview ends, then they just are like waiting and thinking, okay, so when do I hear back? Well, why wouldn't you have asked that question in the interview? Trust me, being on the other side of the hiring table, it is completely normal for us to hear that question. It doesn't come off as off-putting. If I were asked as a recruiter or somebody who is hiring, when should I expect to hear back about this position? I would let them know what our timetable is looking like. Another way is obviously following up after your interview, but not in a way that just is very generic, saying, hey, thank you for your time, I look forward to hearing back from you. Rather, looking at that as your last final impression and doing one more thing that shows why you are the best fit for a position. I actually had a client of mine, and she told me when she was interviewing for a job, they were discussing a book. And this was something so small, but they were discussing a book that the interviewer had never heard of, but was very interested in as she was talking about it. So in her follow-up, she made sure to have a link to the book that they discussed. That little thing just goes a bit above and beyond, and that is going to have you stand out. And mistake number 6 is not doing proper research or asking questions. And I'm lumping those together, research and questions, because they all lead to the same thing, which is discovery. The discovery you need to decide if it's a position that you want. It's the way that you learn to ask strategic questions to position yourself as the candidate that they want to hire. And I see this all throughout the process. If you are interested in a position, you should be doing research before you even apply. Is this a company that aligns with what you're looking for? Is this a position that is going to be a fit for you in your life? So making sure to do research before you apply. And then of course, once you have applied and you are starting the interview process, you're going to want to be prepared. And I'm not talking that like high level surface information that everybody can find. Asking appropriate questions, that is where you are going to shine. So make sure to do the research that you need to both position yourself as somebody that they need to hire, and so you feel confident that you are making the right decision when you are offered a job. Because another thing I hate seeing is people are like, oh, I got the job offer, but I'm not sure if this is a fit for me. If you are at a point where you're making a decision about whether or not to accept a job, if you are not sure if it's the right fit for you, then one, you haven't done the necessary research and asking the questions up till that point, but you should never make that decision with that feeling in you. You should then go ahead and ask those questions and do the research that you need, because you should always be confident that you are making the best decision for yourself. And finally, the last mistake that I see is putting limiting beliefs on yourself. And I see this over and over from people who've taken a career break thinking, well, who's going to hire me? I've been out of the workforce for too long. Or people who are looking to switch careers and they're thinking, yeah, but I don't have the exact skills that they're looking for. They're not going to want to take a chance on me. Or people who are just like, I don't think I should apply for this position because I don't meet 100% of the skills. Or even people thinking, I can't reach out to so-and-so. That's gonna look as though I'm being desperate. Stop putting limiting beliefs on yourself. As a society, we do this throughout life, right? We have this box and everybody is supposed to be within this box. But then we celebrate the people who think outside of the box. But then we're like, well, we can't think outside the box because it's breaking some social societal norms. I want you to break the mold. I want you to think differently. And I'm here to give you practical advice. But if there's something you're like, you know what, I really feel as though this is the way I should represent myself, or I really feel as though I want to try this, even though I don't have all of the experience that some other people may have, I want you to go for it. I want you to try it. I want you to not have regrets. I want you to bust through that box that is around you, because you know what? You get one shot at this, so go for it. And if you would like a video on ways that you can stand out from the average job seeker so you can be even more confident as you look for a job in the new year, then check out my video here. Welcome to video 100 and something of me standing in front of a camera, very awkwardly, trying not to be awkward while giving you helpful job search advice. I always go in with the intent that this is the one I'm gonna nail. And inevitably, I realize I'm talking to a camera and it feels a little bit awkward. And so then I start stumbling and bumbling and having to hit stop, delete, but not today. Nope, we're gonna do one take and we're gonna start with this crazy intro because you know what? I just gotta get it out there. So thank you for watching me make a fool out of myself while I'm trying to help you. That's what this life is all about, trying your best to help others without really thinking about how you look doing it.